folks, what's going on? We're going to do some artwork today. I'm creating fantasy landscapes. You can see it on the cover here on screen. Give me a minute here. I need to check in on my signal and do some social media posts. So for anyone that's catching this in the future, if you want to skip ahead like a minute, I'll catch you on the, let's scoot this in a little bit. I can catch you on the other side after about a minute. So give me a hot second here. I can catch you on the other side. Oh man, that is super clear. Super. Let's drop that sound down there. I finally gained control of my microphone volume. I'm very proud of that. My name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them and I publish them online. I've been creating content for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition on DMsGuild.com since 2018. We're going to be updating a bunch of the stuff that I love and still use in my weekly campaigns. We're going to update all that stuff to 2024 because I love the 5.5e rule set as well. And I'm pretty sure it's going to end up taking over D&D tables just out of default because everything else will have been, everything's going to fold into that anyway. So let's see. Check. Done. And then just one more button here to press and we'll be able to get kicked off for the rest of the day. Chunk, copy, paste, and I'm done. Okay, cool. So everything is done there. Let me fix my screen so we can get some artwork done today. We'll go to background here and there we go. What's up? Hey, if you think this stuff is cool, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications when we're live in the future. Here's a bunch of other books I've created on the DMs Guild. They all have free previews that are chock full of art and ideas that you can look at. If you want to support me, buying some is certainly appreciated. But just thanks a lot for sticking around and checking this stuff out. Let me fix this screen here real quick as well, and then we'll be getting started. There's that, and we'll just drop that down a little bit. There. Okay, cool. So let's see. Here is our reference image that we're framing this off of. So far, so good. So what? We're doing trees right now. So let's dig into the depths of that. We'll remove this. We'll just grab this color here that we've been using, which is coming out of here. So we'll be doing similar variety of trees stacked in amongst this copse. There you go. So let's rock. Our next pull is going to be here. So let's switch over to the conifer foliage brush that we use, and we're going to shrink it down in size. There, we're just going to dust this stuff in here and just let it bulk up. I'm just basically teeter-tottering this thing down the page. And the brush that we're using, it's a custom brush that we built specifically to do trees like this. It is on my Patreon, which is linked down below. Currently, it's at no cost. We're going to, I think what I'm going to do is provide the PDF and the final JPEG, the PDF breakdown here of the layers, and the brush set that we use. I think I'm going to bundle those together and put them on my Patreon, which, again, link down below. Check it out if you want to support me that way instead of buying books if you're not a D&D enthusiast. If you are an art enthusiast and are enthused about my art, that is appreciated. So check that stuff out. We'll be doing a lot of D&D stuff on the Patreon. We're once we get these books that we want to rebuild completed, we'll be able to shift focus to start producing content on my Patreon specifically, which I'm looking forward to doing. Let's switch to the same brush here at 100% to be able to erase at some of this stuff to help add a little bit of depth and variety in the branches here along the base, and then we'll use shadow and lighting to create the interior space. Again, we're just tapping our way down the page to fill in the space to get the general form of it. Now those two bump into each other like that. So I do artwork like this for the books that I illustrate Monday through Fridays in the morning here. On Mondays and Thursday nights, including tonight, we do game design. We're currently, as I said, rebuilding some of the books that I already published on the DMsGuild, now updating them for 2024. Primarily, we're talking about the color mana spell point variant rule system for 5e characters to use Magic the Gathering color mana instead of the Vancian spell slots and 8 schools of magic traditional to the D&D campaign, to the D&D game. But since Wizards owns both D&D and Magic the Gathering, they've already produced some crossovers. But it's taking the worlds of what Wizards has been doing is taking the narrative and thematic ideas from some of the Magic the Gathering worlds and converting them, translating them into the D&D game engine, which is appropriate. It's what they should do. What they used to do would be, in 3rd edition, if they came up with a new idea, they'd make spells and magic items and new classes and species and magic items and feats to lean into the flavor, including like completely new power systems and spell systems. They kept some of that for 5th edition, but they got rid of all the really hard work of building new system mechanics to fit different campaign settings. So they kind of left that aspect of game design out in 5th edition, which simplifies it, but that simplicity also breeds boredom. So we wanted to be creative with the MTG settings. So yeah, color mana, super fun. But since 5.5 has made so many changes to classes and power structure in general in 5e, it warrants changing to the classes. Plus, I've been using it for the past 8 years across multiple campaigns that ran level 1 to 20 and a bunch of smaller campaigns as well. So it warrants the change, and I welcome it. I'm looking forward to updating these books. I'll be able to put better artwork, better game design, better layouts, hopefully better descriptions, as well as adding the alignment system in for color, for the color philosophies as your alignment instead of good and evil and chaos, neutrality, lawfulness. That's a the 9-square box of typical D&D alignment of chaos versus law and good versus evil. You can let that stuff go. I think it fits the modern zeitgeist of character expression and identity through your characters, of removing good, evil, law, chaos, and instead focusing on what color philosophy do I want this character to follow. And then build the character around that philosophy. Like if I'm an emotional hothead, I'm going to have red in my energy. If I'm trying to strive towards perfection or bettering myself as part of that process, I might have blue, so I could be a blue-green character. Blue-red character. So all the mana that I'm going to channel is going to be blue and red. So when you look at me and I throw magic at you, you'll see blue and red signatures coming off of it, and you can get an idea of what the kind of character I am, the kind of person I am, the kind of magic I'm wielding, and start to get some inferred meta knowledge about me just based on the colors that you see coming off of me. In campaign settings where color philosophy dominates the world, like Alara, Ravnica, Strixhaven. Not so much Theros, though. Theros doesn't have a lot of focus on color at all, but it exists. And there's 15 gods in Theros. There's the 5 primary gods. And then there's 10 lesser gods that are a combination of 2 colors. And there's 10 of those, just like there's 10 guilds in Ravnica. So you take 2 colors, you add them together, and that becomes a personality. That's generally how the alignment system works. But there's 5 primary gods that are only 1 color. So that would, like, from a game perspective, like from a D&D game design perspective, I'm going to grab this branch, this trunk here, and scooch it over. Nothing there. Okay, this is the last branch we have in this stack. So we'll push this one down, and then we'll start doing shadow for this burst of trees that we just made. And then we'll make another burst of trees in a different color to layer in with them, and then we'll just keep layering the colors of trees until it feels like a living copse. But yeah, Theros. I'm talking about Theros today, apparently. Since there's only 5 major colors and there's 10 gods that play with both colors, the way that I designed Theros is the clerics and druids follow the druids and rangers. Rangers can be like generally green, white, and red. That's just generally the colors that they jive with. Just like just like the paladin generally jives with white, black, and red. Those are like the typical colors for spells and stuff that you see on paladins. On rangers, you typically see red and green and a bit of white strewn in there. Druids are heavy green. Wizards are heavy blue, but red, white, blue, black. But they're very, very blue in orientation. And so for Theros, clerics specifically have one color, and then their other colors, whatever they want it to be, or colors, or whatever they want them to be. But if you are like a cleric of Eo, then you are going to use white magic. If you're a cleric of what is it? Nydia, I think, is green. Thassa is blue. I'm not great with the names of Theros. There's so fucking many of them. Let's take these here and bond them to the line art there. Actually, let's just merge the whole stack. Merge down. Now we can start adding in the shadows. So we'll grab a shadowy color, and in a separate layer, we'll then stack on the shadow effect on top of the trees to help create this variety in branches like this. I'm going to thin down this brush a little bit. There we go. And we just dance down the tree just like we did with adding in the initial pigment. We do similar dancing down the structure to add in the shadow. And at a glance, it looks pretty good. And at this scale, all we're doing is at a glances. So we don't need more detail than this currently where we're at in the piece. The trees in the foreground, we'll need more details on those, which is fine. We can add more details on those. We're doing a very light layer of detail. See, here's the thing. The further away you get, the less detail there generally is. The closer you are, the more detail there is. The bigger something is, the more contrast and color there tends to be the closer you get. So those are perspective tricks. Larger size, more saturation, and more general detail makes things look closer, as opposed to the opposite makes things look further away. So when you combine 2 or 3 of those different components, you can accurately indicate, you can trick the eye into thinking that this thing is further away. Create pattern recognition that you then alter the pattern to indicate change and an environment. So we'll be doing trees today. That's why I want to talk about stuff so that I myself stay entertained through the process of creating all these trees, because they can get pretty boring. But if I have something fun to ramble about, then the trees just make themselves, and we don't have to think about them. We can think about whatever cool thing it is that we're focusing on. We'll do that instead. So yeah, Theros, 5. The clerics are going to be one primary color, white, blue, black, red, green, and then all the lesser gods that have 2 colors bound to them. Those are patrons for warlocks. So there'll be 10 patrons of warlocks just with the Pacts and Patrons of Ravnica that we publish on DMsGuild, which converts all of the 10 guilds of Ravnica into 10 subclasses. The 10 being, if you have 5 colors and you want to have 2 of each color, that ends up being 10 different combinations, like white, blue, white, black, white, red, white, green. There's 4 colors there. And so when we get around to doing the 4 colors of green at the end, we've already done we've already had blue and green. And when we did the blacks, we already had black and green. We already did the red, we have red and green. So green by default is just a combination of the other 4 colors. So every color has 4 different combinations. When you add those all up, it's 10. So there's 15. So there's 15 gods in Eberron, the 10 major gods that are monocolor. And then the lesser gods that are Patreon, that are Warlock patrons, which are dual colored or color pairings. And then Druid is green as well. So it could be that there could be a green cleric. There's no reason not to. But I think by default, a green cleric would be a Druid. So barbarians have a lot of red and green in them, though like the zealot could be any color that you want, devoted to any god. So in Theros, it's not so much your class specifically that matters about the color. It's the gods that you have piety with or devoted to that will determine your colors. So if I'm a if I'm a blue magic sort of guy, I can choose any of I can basically the pantheon of blue in each the way that this works, this idea of color with Theros, is you have five pantheons, 1 for each color. So you got like Ao is your primary, and like Eros is like white and red. So Eros is both part of the white pantheon and the red pantheon, because Eros' identity is white and red. See how that works? So cool. We got some trees here that we've added in on this color. I'm going to bond these together, merge them all down into one clump so I can manipulate them better. But I like where they're sitting. I think I want to reduce their size a little bit though, as a set. There, that feels better. And I'm going to take these and I'm going to pinch them out here like that. Again, we're going to add in a number of tree layers so I can afford... we just leave these guys bunched up like this. I kind of like that in a bunch. Cool. Okay, let's leave those like that. Let's stack in the next layer on top of it. I don't need this back line anymore for my sketch. As we fill in layers, we destroy more and more layers of the sketch that we have here. So like this is the foreground that remains. We're gonna have a water line inside here. This is gonna be like a water space, like a lake or whatever, that will fill in here. That will be able to have a cool the cool thing about having water in your pieces is that you can create reflections of the mountains that you built, but we're not there yet. I'm going to finish this back line here, and then we'll reflect the mountain, sky, and tree line into the water, and that'll help establish our mid-ground and occupy this space without actually having to do anything new. And then we'll have this foreground here for this right-hand embankment, and then left-hand is going to be our closest to the camera. And that's to create balance in the Japanese sense of things. Beauty comes from imbalance. So when we make a composition, we want to pull the eye in different directions to make it do stuff. And so high tree line here is going to face down, sweep you into here. You're going to want to pay attention to this, which pushes you down over here to here. When you see the reflection, that'll push you into here, but that'll push you into this space here, which pushes you back up into here. And then so you're just going to your eyes is going to basically want to do little zooms around back and forth in the page, and that's great. You want to pull the eye back to the middle with all the stuff that you do on your piece to help keep it inside of the environment of the composition that you built, if that makes sense. So everything is designed to pull the eye back around into the piece so that you want to spend time meandering around the details and looking at all the subtleties and stuff that's going on inside of the illustration. Excuse me. Okay, cool. So we got that established. Let's make a new tree line. Let's grab this lighter color here. That should be, I think that'll be fun to use. So we'll start. Let's get our colors back on screen here. There. Let's grab a real quick round brush here and drop it down so we can just put some trunks in here. And there as well. Okay, cool. So we're here. I'm just adding in another folder here to keep all the trees separated from each other. And now we can switch back to our conifer brush. That doesn't seem, I like where that's going, but it's not light enough. I need lighter. Yeah, more like that. Yeah, that's a good change. Let's dance our way down the page. The Eberron adventure that we are no longer streaming illustrations for is because all the illustrations are done. The PDF is done. It's ready to go, but I'm packaging assets currently. So all the maps, all the tokens to use with the maps, all the player handouts. My time off stream is being spent fulfilling all of that asset production so I can drop it into a zip file and include it with the PDF of the adventure so that it's got everything that you need to be ready to go out of the box. The scaling for the map at the 70 DPI, it snaps perfectly into Roll20. It's fantastic. It looks really fucking good. So I just have to take a little bit of time to make sure all those assets are built out correctly. I'm done with the NPCs, the monsters, and then the first part 1, region 1. The village Thorpe, that's done. So tonight I'll work on, after I finish stream, we're going to be streaming tonight. So we're going to stream the Rogue and the Sorcerer for the Color Mana system, the revisions that we made to it. So we're going to update those one last time before we are able to actually start moving into production. We're just doing some quality of life improvements and just basically doing our P's and Q's to make sure that everything is set properly. But everything is looking really good with those subclasses, with the classes and the subclasses. So I'm very, very satisfied. So I'm at a point where we can start moving towards actually rebuilding and publishing the book, which is one of my major 2026 projects, and I am very much excited to get into the thick of that. We're basically just rebuilding the book, so we don't have to really reinvent anything. But we do want to re-express it, change the formatting, change the page layout, add in new art. So like once we get that book through page layouts, we'll be peeling out individual pages and painting them. So the stream here will switch to doing MTG art in the mornings instead of, I'm just basically doing a palette cleanser right now with this landscape illustration. But once this is done, that will be the kickoff to beginning the Color Mana Spell Point Variant Rule 2025 revisions. So stay tuned for that. We'll be doing a bunch of artwork. I mean, some of the artwork we can keep from the original version of it, but I also imagine us either improving upon or replacing a number of the pieces. So we'll see where it takes us. I have no idea what it's going to end up being like, but I'm looking forward to the process. I'm gonna have to fix this this back line here. By dotting in some of this, just generic. Yeah, just this conifer brush that we use. I'm just gonna blip it down through here to break up some of those wavy line effects, since this is all going to get buried in the background anyway. Help add to just general texturing in the piece. I think it needs it. Most of this this background stuff that I'm dusting at right now, it's all going to get heavily concealed by the mid-ground tree line that we're building in front of it. But some of it is going to poke through, and the stuff that pokes through, it needs to make sure it looks good. So I'm just dotting in some terrain patterning here. Just to create some additional volume. I tell you what, man, that Eberron art that we were doing in the morning, that was pulling decent numbers. But now that I've stopped promoting Eberron directly as my art project, my channel's tanking. It is tanking hard and fast. I did not realize how much the Eberron community was holding up my channel. So thanks for the camaraderie, team. Appreciate you guys being here, and I don't blame anyone moving on to something else if I'm no longer scratching your itch. But I certainly hope that I can pick up some new folks that are interested in the type of stuff that we do, so we can continue having fun here together. Oh yeah, that immediately looks good. I'm really, really happy with that. Cool. Okay. Chugga chugga, chugga chugga. But we knew that was a risk. It's always whenever you shift focus, you always risk losing audience. So it's a known loss. We'll recover somehow. We will recover. All right, move on to the next tree. Everywhere we see a bare pole, we cover it up with whatever color we're currently working in. There we go. Let's thin that down, because this is looking really fucking sloppy. If I thin it up a little bit, it looks pretty good. There we go. All better now. Okay, so we have those bases. Now we're going to do the shadow layer on top of them. So let's go back up here to find some of these trees and find what's a good color. That's probably going to be good. Again, we're just gonna dust this on top of it to create shadows for the branches. I think this needs to be a little darker. Let's try that. Lovely. And I'm gonna dust over it with the eraser just to thin down some of the spots to create some variance. Zoom back in. Layer over this. Erase some of it to thin it out. Nice. Dot this all in here. Yeah, I think so we've got the rogue and the sorcerer that we're going to work on for game design tonight. But with any luck, we'll be able to get that finished, and then we can get the cemetery in part 2. Get the cemetery done and start working on the random encounter maps. And then tomorrow, I'm hoping to get the flooded fortress resolved. And then on Wednesday, I hope to finish the gatehouse map. And then on Thursday, I think on Thursday I'm playing Super Atomic, either Super Atomic or Shadow Dark with Fred Wheeler and Wally DM and AJ Pickett. I think there's a Thursday game happening, which will thin down the content that I produce on Thursday in general. So I might only have time. I'll probably be playing Super Atomic or whatever until like 7:30. Be on at 8. And that will allow me to get the. So we're gonna do Rogue, and we're gonna do Rogue and Sorcerer tonight. Let's do Wizard on Thursday, since I'm gonna have a limited amount of time on Thursday, and then Saturday. We'll be playing Mage Tower Saturday morning on my Discord server, but prior to that, we'll have time for the Warlock, and then we'll find some time to build out the Artificer. Maybe we'll do Rogue today at lunch. No, stay the course, Kearney. I don't know. Maybe we'll see what my day looks like. Maybe I'll have a special. No, we'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it. So we'll get Rogue and Sorcerer done tonight. We'll do Wizard tomorrow at lunch, and then Thursday we'll do Warlock, and then maybe on Friday we can spend lunch to do the art. No, the Artificer will take too long. So we'll do the Artificer on Saturday, like we were discussing. So yeah. So we should be here for Wizard on Tuesday lunchtime. That'll be a bonus session that I launch. I'll have the bandwidth to do that. Let's collapse these into their own folder, and now let's create a new folder to continue bulking up. Let's grab this and a very small line. Dot in here like that. We're just basically filling gaps. And we keep filling them until there's no more gaps. That's the gappiest part there. That's the gappiest part there. Here's a gap. And here's a gap. Don't need anything that far out. Don't need anything this far out. That builds our frame. That's good. Let's drop down into here. I think I want a darkly tree right now. So let's see. Let's grab. This one seems darkly to me. Let's go this as our base color. And then let's grab some like super deep shadow. It's not enough difference. Let's grab like that. I'm looking for. That's probably gonna work. 1 tree, 2 tree. Cool. Let's switch to our conifer brush again. I'm going to change the shape of it. I'm going to thin it down a little bit more for these trees specifically, just to create variety and an expression. Smaller down here and build this out a little bit more. You know what? I'm going to just do these tips in this flatter brush. I'm just going to do these like this, facing upward like that. Let's just go along the tips here and just do that. And then as we get down, as we get into it, we can increase the curve and switch back to our normal fluffering. If I wanted to create some variety in the tips, because these are what are poking out above and are most visible from the composition here, because eventually the trees are just going to mass together. It's the individual ones poking out at the heads and shoulders above the rest, as it were, that we do need to make note of. So let's create that topography here, and then again just letting it all just kind of drip into and start filling out inside of here. You can see how that goes. Like that, and we start changing the angle of the brush downward. We start like this, and then we start shifting it downward as we get into the mass. Back and forth like this. And then it starts to thicken out like that. We can turn the brush like this. And just start manipulating it just like we do the normal trees, and just start pushing that down. But starting here at the tips like this allows us to create some variety. There, we can start thickening that up like this, and then pushing it down into the canvas, and then step away from that one and work on the next one. This helps keep the assembly line of this a little more interesting, not so redundant. So yeah, Theros gods. There's 5 major colors. There's monochromatic, monocolor gods that are the major gods, and then you have the 10 minor gods that are a combination of 2 colors, and each one forms a color pantheon. There's a pantheon of 4 red, pantheon of 4 blue, white, black. So whichever colors your character is devoted to, paying piety, paying respects and blessings to the gods that are aligned with the colors that you're devoted to, allows you to increase your piety in each of the colors. So if you want to stay focused on white, you can worshiping for Ao directly is the most the most economic means of worshiping white, because it is the major god of white magic, or white energy, as it may be. But then you also have the pantheon around, like Eros, for example, is white-red, like I mentioned earlier, and Ero is also part of the red pantheon because it's a white-red split. Like Mowgli is, or Mogus is red and black. Mogus is part of the red pantheon, but also part of the black pantheon. So if your color devotion is red-black, you would have a natural inclination towards Mogus, but you could also go like Erebus and all the other black gods, and Eros, and I forget the name of the red god of the major, the elder god, as it were. Can't remember the name of the red, but anyway. Dotted those trees in. Now we can add shadow to them. These things go pretty quick. We're still building. We're still building the base, excuse me. So let's add a little bit more curve into our conifer brushes, increase their size a little bit, and then just start dipping down and dancing along. And use our eraser here to poke through, just to clean them up a little, and then drop down into here, and it just starts to meld and mesh into the rest of the muck of the trees that are down here. And just fill that in. Erase a little bit here and there to create some character, and then just let the mass of it just sort of just like chunk down into and mix in with the other trees. And we'll go through with the shadow layer to add foreground, like forward-facing branches, just to flesh it out and fill it in. But we're just trying to create volume and texture. It's generally what you want along the copes of trees. Don't want to get too broad, so we're going to
reel in the scope of the breadth of the branches that are tufting out of it, keeping that general conifer shape. Filling this in, and we'll do another layer of trees in front of these. Again, filling in the gap with different sized trees as we go to help push the push from the background into the foreground by increasing the size of the trees as we go. So at the end of this, we'll have a really good looking tree line. Takes a little bit of time to do it, but it doesn't take that much time. It's pretty meditative. If I was on my own enjoying some grooves of music or listening to an audio book or a lecture series about something, it actually makes art pretty chillax. But it also requires focus. I appreciate streaming like this. It gives me an opportunity to just kind of yammer at audience a little bit. And hey there, guys. Anyone that's checking out the channel, I really appreciate it. But art is a very lonely endeavor. So having the opportunity to be online like this, to have the opportunity to engage people in conversation, it's a lifesaver. It really, really is. Feels pretty good. These all feel pretty good. Oh, I missed this one. Let's fill that guy in a little bit here. There we go. I'm just picking at stuff just to pick at it. Erasing is as important as adding pixel. Equally important. See, it's starting to look like a tree line right now, right? It's starting to feel like this. That is our goal. We can conceal all that stuff for a moment while I dot this new shadow layer in here. Just I want to make sure it's getting difficult for me to distinguish one tree from another, which is our goal, but during the creation process, I need to be able to keep these things separated so I can do the job. There we go. Dot all that stuff in there like that. Dot, 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 dot. Dot. Yeah, I'm doing this illustration basically as a palate cleanser, just to clear the Eberron from my throat and set myself up to transition to something else, new art, new books, new ideas. But trees like this is a safe haven for me. It's landscape environments in general. Bob Ross work is a I used to watch a lot of Bob Ross when I was a little kid, playing with Legos on Saturdays. So I've got a long history with Bob for the past 40 some odd years. Basically been his unwitting acolyte, his unbeknownst acolyte, learning the ways of the Bob. And they manifested themselves when I needed them most when I was developing my art style. So, in Bob we trust. He is, if I were to have a patron saint, it would definitely be Bob Ross. dotting down and filling in the gaps here as we go, just to fill it out. Dot like that, dot, dot, dot. I'll add the rest of the trees back in a moment. I just wanted to keep these. I wanted to pull these out separately so I could make sure I'm staying within the general confines of the tree. There we go. I'm just dotting my way down, just adding the shadow. And when I add in the rest of the trees, it'll look good. Well, you saw it. Maybe you saw it. Depends if you were here or not. You'll see it. And you are apparently locking up, so I'm going to hit save before something weird happens. Adobe, the creators of Photoshop, keep pushing me to download 2025, and I don't want to. I'm comfortably sitting inside the 2022 version of Photoshop, and they don't want to support it, so they've been encouraging me to drop into 2027. I suspect at some point they're just going to go ahead and make the decision and upgrade the software for me on my behalf, which I will not appreciate, but will accept. Photoshop is my weapon of choice in artwork. I've been using Photoshop for almost 30 years now, so it is definitely my preferred tool space. I guess I could switch to another art program, but this one just does everything that I want it to, and it has it's a tolerable expense, so I stick with it. Let's add a little bit more into here. Get that backline going. There. It's filling in pretty nicely. Let's see, what do I need to do? I need to probably need to add another layer of trees. Don't we think? We have gaps going on in here we could fill in, so let's create another layer, another folder, and then another round tool, another chance for us to make more trees. We'll eventually run out of gaps for us to fill trees in, but every time we're making them a little taller. Pushing the tree line towards us a little bit more. Here's a good gap. Here's a gap. Here's this gap back here won't matter. Let's push this one up a little bit. We'll push this one up a little bit. Push this one up a little bit. Yeah, that's a good tree line. All right, now the question is which value are we going to use? Something brighter, something darker? It looks like these are generally sitting into dark mushes. I think I want to use this one's sitting amongst the bright. So maybe I'll just mix it up. Let's go with a brighter one. When they're sitting between the dark ones, and we'll go with a darker one when they're sitting between the brighter ones. So let's grab, let's grab that as our starting color for the next set. And back to our conifer brush, we're going to thin it down again. Oof, this one is not showing very well, not until we get down to here. Maybe we do need to start with a... Here, let me eliminate all that stuff. There. Let's go back. Let's keep that as a highlight color. Now let's, instead of highlighting, instead of starting with the dark and highlighting, let's go with instead of going mid-tone and then putting shadow on it, let's go with mid-tone and then put highlights on it. since that seems to be where at this point we're putting trees in front of trees. That feels like a good way to go. So we're going to add, yeah, that feels a lot better already. So we're going to go with this darker color as our base. And as we work our way down the canvas, we'll be able to isolate these and then highlight them. We'll see if that works. At first, we just want to do this light little dusting like this to help establish its shape. This one's got a tilt to it. That's fun. Spread those out a little bit as we drop down. It starts to full out more. So we're just going to start thin and start pushing our way down. That's enough for now. Go over to this one. Similarly, start adding in the tip foliage. Like that. There we go. Good. Thank you, Timely Timer. I've got my 20-minute timer going on here on the side. It's 7:33. I got another 20 minutes this morning. So we'll have another 20 minutes to be able to build out some trees. And then when we come back next time, we'll probably, I suspect we'll have the trees finished for tomorrow. And we'll start working the water line and then the water reflections of the sky and the mountain in the background. And then, so this is what, Monday, tomorrow, Tuesday, we'll probably figure out the water line. That'll leave us with Wednesday and Thursday and Friday for us to work foreground. And then from there we'll assess, is it done or not, or is there something else that we need? So that could mean that we have this piece finished by Friday, and on Monday we start in on something completely different. Not 100% sure yet what is going to happen. Okay, cool. So we got those tree lines. We got those tree tips going on. Let's take the same brush and make it a little bit rounder, so that we can fill in this volume a little bit easier here like this. See, that just fills itself in so much easier now that we have it curved. I'm just going to continue adding to the size of the brush so we can push this further and further down into the canvas here. We have 100% on our eraser here so we can remove as much as add as we move our way down the piece. That, and then this guy over here, we'll do the same. Like this, and then we'll do highlights instead of shadows. And I think we're gonna have to use a different technique for the highlights than we've been doing for the base and the shadow. So let's see how that shakes out. Let's get these trees done. Continue adding mass to you, sir. There we go. Hey, what's going on? Unistone and Art, what is up? Yeah, man. It's coming along pretty nicely. So here's the sample image that we've been using. I got this off of, most of my Earthborn comes off of either Reddit or whatever it is that Microsoft is serving up on its desktop. And so here's where we're at to now. I'm really liking how this mountain range turned out. I'm loving the strato clouds. That turned out really nicely. But now we're just adding in infinite amount of trees. really good. Right on. Thanks. Doing some storyboards for my day job. Hey, right on. Very cool, my guy. Yeah, I've got about maybe 15 minutes left this morning, and I'm going to have to bounce for my day job. I'm going to be back tonight around probably 9:30 Eastern time, around 6:30. If I can get on earlier, I will. But we're going to build out. We're rebuilding the 5.5 D&D subclasses, all the classes and subclasses for D&D 5.5 that came out in 2024. We're rebuilding all of those to use mana spell points as their primary resource, and all classes, including fighter, barbarian, rogue, they all use. They're all mana built first, and all classes and subclasses make use of the mana, and then the multi-classing between the different classes pools all their mana together and use them in different ways. It's a really fun system, but it needs to be rebuilt, and we need to break down those books. So we'll eventually be doing Magic the Gathering art inside of this new mechanics book that we'll be building. Right now, this is just a palette cleanser. Since we finished the art for the Eberron project that we've been working on, I wanted to take an opportunity just to do some happy landscapes because they truly make me happy. I love doing this type of art. If you've been watching the Eberron series, you know that I've been basically any opportunity or excuse to add in landscapes into the Eberron adventure art that we've been doing. I've been taking advantage of that opportunity every chance I get because landscapes are just easy compared to structures, characters, equipment, monsters. And it's if I had my way, if I was living in my perfect life, I'd be doing land cards for Magic the Gathering. That would be my day job if I had been blessed enough to be that guy. But that's where my heart is at. Land cards for D&D. Land cards for Magic the Gathering. That's what I love to do. Hey, what's going on? I've been seeing that some are a bit too late for my time zone. Hey, right on, but yo. Hey, right on. Dude, you do what you do. Nobody owes me nothing. I will earn my time and my subscriptions through performance. No perform, no subscriber. Which class are you? Tonight I'm going to do the Rogue and Sorcerer. We're just going through alphabetically. So so if you check out the Color Mana series that I have on my playtest on my Discord, if you check out the MTG to D&D conversion, I'm up to I think episode 13 in that series, but I have a separate playlist folder. We did Barbarian first. We've just basically been going in order: Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, and now we're down to Rogue and Sorcerer. And then we'll still have Warlock and Wizard to do after this, and then we're gonna circle back around and do the Artificer. Since the Artificer isn't part of the core rules, it won't be in the primary book that we're building. But I'm going to create a separate little like one-off, kind of like we did for Spellpoint Warlocks and we did for Knights and Tricksters. We're gonna do Spellpoint Artificers as a separate piece. And we might end up I'm going to hold off on Scion, but we've already converted this Scion, and it feels really good. So Spellpoint Scion will come around, but we're going to do a separate book for Artificers. We're going to do an expansion for Spellpoint Sorcerers, just to flesh it out more. There's more things we can do mechanically with Sorcerer than I want to put in the core mechanics because it's scope sprawl. It's better to just drop it into a separate document. I also want to convert. I honestly want to convert all the monks into half-casters. So a monk half-casting chassis that then like the Sun Soul Sorcerer or like the Sun Soul Monk and like the Monk of Mercy and blah blah blah. All the different types of monks. I want to give them all unique 50 spell half-casting lists, kind of like the Paladin and the Ranger has. But we'll get around to that. In all honesty, we'll probably do that on Patreon. So once we get these books published, we'll have an open plate for us to start messing around with more stuff. And I want to move away from the DMsGuild and start moving into my Patreon to reward people for following me specifically instead of just me trying to point them towards DMsGuild, because DMsGuild isn't pulling numbers like it used to. It's still the place to publish IP that Wizards own, so like all my MTG stuff, all my published stuff rightfully belongs on the DMsGuild, but I can start doing fan content built off of those mechanics to start fleshing out my own builds. Anyway, Bob's your uncle. Just fill this in, and then we'll do the highlights, and then I'll be done for the day. Hey, Tech, what's up? Every project is an excuse for practice. Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, I love rogues. Sorcerers are my favorite of all. Like when I play D&D, I am very much drawn towards sorcerer. If I'm going to play a full caster, it will be a sorcerer. If I'm going to play a martial or a half caster, I don't know, man. Rogue is pretty damn good. I also just like generic fighter. It's really hard. There's so many with the martial power system that we've been creating. It's more about which chassis do you like, which game chassis do you want to put your martial powers onto, more so than which class do I want to do I want to play, I'm sorry, that might not make sense. Let's go back. I'm going to conceal these layers so these trees pop out a little bit more. We're going to use our highlight color, and in this instance we're going to use our highlight color upside down and dust across the top. So I'm using the upside down version. Like this is, we built the tree upside down like this, pushing down with the curve like this on the down part, but we are using a lighter color than the base. So these are highlights. So we turn the brush upside down, and then we push along like this to create these little effects. And then we'll, keeping again the tips part up, we'll dot through here and erase some of that so that it just reads differently. It creates a different type of texture that your eye will pick up on. You might not be paying attention to it specifically, but the eye will notice the difference. And it just adds to the volume of, like your eye's looking for an excuse to not worry about what it's looking like. Once it identifies what it's looking at, the eye is attempting to offload any additional bandwidth needed to process the image. So once you convince the eye of what it, like this is a tree line, and once your eye glances over it and it accepts, I recognize this is a tree line, it starts to divest interest in it. If it has a hard time understanding what it is that it looks at, it instead invests more bandwidth into trying to figure out your piece, and then it becomes nitpicking. So you want to create a space inside of your piece where the eye can just accept what it's looking at without having to nitpick it, so that it just kind of washes into the environment as a whole. Does that make? Hopefully that makes sense. Dot along. Hit save because it keeps locking up on me. There we go. Cool. Have at it some more. And once we finish this line here, we'll add the other trees back in, and we'll look at our volume and decide if we need more trees or if we're ready to move on to the shoreline and the water reflections. Water reflections are so cheap and easy in Photoshop, it's ridiculous. Stop freezing up on me, dude. You're frightening me. Photoshop is freezing up so much. Adobe really wants me to switch to 2025. I'm still using 2022. And I think they're tired of supporting it. So I think they're shitifying it on purpose. I suspect. That's what I hate about it. We used to own Photoshop. And if you wanted to steal it, you'd buy a crack. Like they'd figure out the encryption key for unlocking the full features after the 30-day trial period ends. And not that I advocate for that, but I definitely understand why Photoshop, why Adobe moved into a subscription service, a monthly service fee, instead of having the crack codes that they sent out, because they kept getting cracked and they kept losing money, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all for protecting their IP and trying to make their money. But I also don't believe I need most of the features that they're developing now. I'd like to just keep a static version of this fucking thing. Haven't figured that out yet. I know that Krita is probably going to be able to execute that for me, but for whatever reason, I really just love the user interface and the tools that are inside of Photoshop. I've been using Photoshop for 30 years, almost, like 28 years now. It is definitely my weapon of choice, and it's really hard for me to try to switch gears when it's no more than the cost of like Netflix. But it gives me, I watch my screen painting a lot more than I watch Netflix. So this has more value to me. I have no reason to ditch it. If I somehow become destitute and can't afford the $25 or I think it's actually $18 a month right now. If I find myself in a place I can't do that anymore, then maybe I'll switch to Clip Art Studio or something. We'll see where fates take me. Hey, what's up? Too much AI slop on DMsGuild as I observe. It's a shame. Yeah, it really is. They're One Bookshelf, the company that owns ttrpg and DMsGuild, they are not incentivized to gatekeep content on their website that you pay to download and look at. You know, it is definitely in their interest to allow AI slop to flourish there, because it is a large massive influx of new content. But kind of like with Universes Beyond, it's bloating and decreasing the quality of content that's on the. There is no barrier of entry anymore in creating RPG PDFs. You can just have AI build the entire thing for you off of a theme that you suggest, or ask it to create its own theme and then build the game around that. Like, it takes very little human interaction to build PDFs now, if you don't want to bother taking the time, which makes it just very difficult to trust, which is why I make all my stuff 100% free preview, so that you can observe this is not AI slop that I am offering, and people that still value human craftsmanship will end up buying my stuff if they can become aware of it, which is the next challenge, because so much DMsGuild stuff is shitifying the environment. Less and less people are even bothering to look, so it gets tricky. It gets really fucking tricky. This is not my day job in the least bit. This is very much a hobby as a side hustle that I make, a couple $100 a month off of, or whatever. It pays some bills. It certainly feeds Photoshop. And, my music service that I use, Epidemic, sometimes it can pay for my entire internet access, but it is not. I am not dependent on this to be able to pay my mortgage. So I get to pursue the things that I want to pursue without worrying about, is it successful or not. I'd probably live my life very different if I had to rely on any of this shit for my income. But I have a day job that I love. So I'm very, very fortunate to have a day job that allows me the bandwidth to be able to do stuff like this. What's up? Some people suggest Clip Studio Paint. Yeah, it's more of a comic-oriented style, but some tools are. Yeah, that's what I hear. I have Clip Art Studio. I tried it out a little bit, and it didn't jive with me. There wasn't enough. There's not enough motivation for me to try a new art program, because I have no pain using Photoshop other than they want me to update more often than I want to. And of course, the service fee is obnoxious, but I love Photoshop, so I'm willing to pay it as a captured customer, I suppose. Let's dot that in. Got that filled in. Let's add our other trees in now. See, it's starting to get thick enough. We'll put some shrubbery and stuff down along the base here, but it's starting to get thick enough for us to consider stopping. It's a decent tree line, and I only have I've only got 1 minute left. So okay, this is what I think we're going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to come through, and we're going to Tomorrow we're going to add. I'm just BSing in some stuff here. We're going to add a shrubbery line here, like low hung shrubs, to go along the water line here, and to help ground this back forest that we built here. So we're just going to end up dotting in some low hanging ground plant stuff, and we're going to ground that in, and then we're going to resolve the water line here. And then we're going to come in here and we're going to take care of our reflections in the water. And then on Wednesday, we'll probably take care of this little landmass here. And then Thursday, we'll probably take care of this landmass here. And then Friday, we'll just nitpick at some shit. And I suspect at the end of that, I don't think I'll be working on this piece after Thursday. On Monday, we're going to come back and do something completely different. So that's it. I'm out of here, guys. Hey, Stone, I really appreciate you hanging out with me, man. I appreciate you spending some time with me. It's really frustrating to be a writer artist lately. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Hey, everything happens the way it happens. So fate takes us to where we need to be, not where we think we're supposed to be. The co-pilots in the sky are guiding us. Anyway, that's it for me for now. I'll catch up with you guys later on tonight. We're going to work on the Rogue and Sorcerer. So I'll see you then. Cheers.